testing for the 2024 Formula 1 season is officially underway. It's been a long winter break with tons of crazy news and silly season updates, but cars are finally hitting the track. Let's see what we've learned so far from the early days of testing. So for starters, absolutely no surprise, Red Bull and specifically Max Verstappen are blisteringly quick. And when I say blisteringly, I mean it is absolutely crazy how good this car is. And of course, Max Verstappen has not skipped a beat. Nothing's changed since the end of 2023. He's still the best driver on the grid with the best car. And it's showing. He was over a second faster than second place on the early days of testing. No one is really touching him at the moment. And yes, it is just practice and testing. And teams are only trying different things. They're not really going for outright performance. However, we do have a pretty clear indication that the Red Bull RB20 is an absolute force to be reckoned with. Now, obviously, we all saw the car reveal. We all saw the crazy, weird details on the RB20 that looked incredibly innovative. Of course, stealing some of the old Mercedes designs and potentially making them better. Now we've actually seen the car in the limelight and seen it on track, we've actually got a closer look at some of these strange new details. So obviously, those crazy looking side pods and the new vertical intakes instead of horizontal, that seems to be creating a ton of downforce for this car, obviously helping with the engine cooling with the intakes and everything like that. We want to talk about downforce and aero. The interesting thing that really stood out to me while everyone was talking about the side pods is those big old cannons or bazookas, whatever you want to call them, that are sticking out from behind the halo. They are directly connected to it, and it seems to be forcing a lot of air to the back of the car and helping stabilize that rear wing section. Now, Mercedes did have something similar, however, Red Bull has made a slight change where it dips more towards the back. That seems to be helping a lot more with getting that air in the positions it needs to be and allowing this car to be basically on rails through short and long corners. You also have that interesting new nose cone, but another thing that we should notice and point out is that new floor design. There's obviously a lot more fins down there this time around, and that is also helping direct airflow and really helping with the downforce on this car. Red Bull is clearly going with a lot of ground effects this year, and so far, again, it's just testing. It's hard to tell the real performance of these cars just yet. It really seems to be helping, and it looks like Adrian Newey has hit another home run with the RB20. So yes, no surprising, Max Verstappen and Red Bull are well clear of everybody else on the grid at the current moment. However, behind the Red Bull and Max Verstappen, there is some interesting stuff to look at with the other teams. It looks like McLaren is legitimate. They are building off of the success that they had at the end of the 2023 season, and it looks like they are just evolving that car and making it a little bit better. They are one of the best, if not the best, of the rest on the grid so far. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri both seem to be enjoying this new car. Hopefully it produces results once the season gets going. Speaking of enjoying their new car, George Russell has said some pretty good stuff about the Mercedes W15 so far. That being said, they are kind of off the pace a little bit, so obviously enjoying driving the car and actually having it be fast are two separate entities, but it is a good sign that the drivers are enjoying it thus far. They're enjoying a lot more than the previous year's car. And even if they are not super quick out of the gate, at least it gives them chances to develop this car and make it better if the drivers are happy with it and they can better understand and feel what needs to be improved on. Now, Visa Cash App RB, or VCARB for short, I said they are the dark horses to watch out for. It looks like this car is seriously quick. They do appear to have a good amount of straight line speed, obviously from that Honda Red Bull powertrain engine. We know that it is very good in a straight line. Also seems they've really improved on the chassis and the aero over the off-season. This does look like a seriously good contending car. Now, obviously, will it compete for race wins? I don't know if it will go that high up. There could be a sneaky podium in there, though, and it looks like there'll be a serious threat in the midfield or higher up the midfield. I am wagering that, yes, either Ricciardo or Tsunoda at some point in the first half of the season, one of them will have a podium, mark my words. And the other team that stood out to me so far in these early days of testing, for unfortunate reasons, is Williams. Now, it's been a tough offseason so far for Williams. It's been a tough time just getting the car to testing. They were late, obviously. So obviously they were a little behind with the development of this car, getting preparations and all of that ready. They did make it though. Unfortunately, it looks like they were having some issues with reliability and the car's performance overall. Of course, we've already seen Logan Sargent have a big spin on the first day of testing. It looks like this car is a serious handful. Now, one of the things to know is that many teams have switched from a pull rod to a push rod rear suspension, which should help with handling and obviously the chassis and everything in slower and faster corners. Williams, on the other hand, though, have decided to stick with a 2023 spec Mercedes pull rod rear suspension. So whether or not this is having a seriously bad effect on the car's handling is a bit of a mystery, but I'm willing to pinpoint that as a main source of the problem. And on the reliability side of things, Alex Albon already had to have his first DNF of the year before he even made it to the first race. He had to stop on the track with a fuel pump issue. Things are not really looking very good for Williams right now. Obviously, they had a better season last year. They finished 7th in Constructors. That's a very good result for them considering all the terrible times they've had before this. However, they seriously need to improve this car as the season goes on. It looks like they're going to be pretty darn slow in the early races, unfortunately. However, it's a 24 race season. They've got a lot of time to develop this car, and hey, maybe they'll turn things around before testing is over. This is why we go testing, to find these problems, to see what works and what doesn't, and teams can fix what they need to fix. Now, obviously, you'll have to see what the other teams are doing. Ferrari looks pretty decent. Sauber actually looks pretty good too. We'll have to see the other days of testing and see what really happens, see what else we can learn, what works, what doesn't, who has better air, who has a better engine, all of that jazz. We'll also have to keep an eye on the drivers and who looks fast and who doesn't. Let me know what you guys think. What are your observations? Who do you think are the teams to watch out for? And who do you think seriously needs to improve before the season kicks off next weekend in Bahrain? Guys, as always, make sure you subscribe to Racing Direct. Hit that like button. It really helps. This is a new channel. We're still trying to grow it. So let's keep growing, and I'll see you guys next time.